At this point, after you've made that decision and said, hey, this is what I love. Let's take for example, right? I'm going to be using a couple of examples in here just to help guide you. Again, as I said, I'm not going to enumerate 100 or 1,000 skills and say, hey, pick one. No, I'm going to pick some topics and just talk about them. Hi, and welcome to the You Can Be Anything podcast skills series. I'm Solange, and I am your host. This is part of the You Can Be Anything podcast, where I try to encourage you all that's on the journey of learning a new skill. So today we are talking about part 2. Last week, we answered the question of, is another university degree necessary? And in part 2, we will be talking about what skills we can learn. One of the most common questions I get whenever I talk to anybody about learning a new skill is, hey Solange, you keep talking about this skill stuff, upskilling. What can I learn? That's a very common question. And I know that you who is listening probably at some point had that question in mind. And my answer, again, I call it a generic answer because I always tend to say, hey, what do you like to do? Why do I ask this question, what do you like to do? The reason is because I believe that when you love something, you're going to find that time to learn it. You're going to be encouraged. You will want to do it, right? You have that feeling, you have that enthusiasm to do it. That is why one of the first things I always ask is, what do you like? And when you like something, you excel at it a lot faster than something that you're forcing yourself to do. So in this part 2 of the series, I'll be talking to you about what skills you can learn. Because there's a ton of skills out there, I'm not here to enumerate all of the skills that are on the market. We're going to talk about a couple of them, and you will do your due diligence to do research and find out what it is that you can learn. But the first step, as I say, is having that internal, that self-evaluation, asking yourself what you want to do, what you love to do, what is something that you can do for the next years of your life without feeling bored. If you're able to answer that question, that is a huge step towards upskilling. At this point, after you've made that decision and said, hey, this is what I love. Let's take for example, right? I'm going to be using a couple of examples in here just to help guide you. Again, as I said, I'm not going to enumerate 100 or 1,000 skills and say, hey, pick one. No, I'm going to pick some topics and just talk about them. And we are going to go into those topics and now do a deep dive and maybe settle with a particular skill. So you're going to use the same methodology to find your own skill. One of the first examples I want to use, because it is a very common one, this time around I'm switching gears. I'm not talking about tech first. I'll talk about healthcare. Most people, when they hear about healthcare, the first thing that comes to their mind is that it's medical doctor or nurse, or the nurse assistant. That is not correct. The healthcare sector is a huge one. If you're somebody that finds yourself, if after answering that first question that I asked, what do you like? And you end up saying that, hey, you want to work in the healthcare sector, then that is one big step. But what you want to do next is find out what are some of those skills that you can learn within the healthcare sector. Take away that mentality that healthcare is about nurses and doctors and nurse assistants. There is a lot more in that sector. So do your research. And one of the ways, so before I go into one of the different ways that we can learn this, another thing is, my favorite and most common example is the tech world. You just hear people say, hey, yes, I'm interested in tech, I'm interested in computers. If you're somebody if your first answer to the previous question I asked is like, hey, I like computers, I like to be able to do a job on the computer, like anything, right? The next thing you want to think about is, what are some of the skills in the tech world that you can learn? The tech world is huge. Somebody just says, hey, I'm into IT, that's information technology. That is one big answer, right? That is like an umbrella answer. It is not what you do. So again, you don't just get up and say, hey, I want to learn IT. What is it about IT that you want to learn? This is where I say you want to get specific. For example, let's say you're into IT. If you go onto Google search and you say, hey, you type something like tech skills to learn in 2022, a ton of those skills are going to come out. For example, when I used to do that a lot when I transitioned into the tech world. When I was at the beginning of my journey, I did that a lot. So I'm sure if you still go to my search history, you'll see all those recorded. For example, if you go and say tech skills to learn in 2022, this will bring you up tons of different kinds of data. You're going to see stuff like software engineer, coding, you'll see UX design, you'll see stuff like data engineering, data visualization, you'll see CRM, and a lot more. These are all tech related. It is you now to decide on what among these many different things, what can you learn? What do you think you can be a master of? So you want to be able to ask yourself those questions. I've given an example in the healthcare sector, and I have given an example in tech. You've seen the bigger picture, the healthcare sector, and we can see all the different, you can go and you check and you see all the other different skills that are aligned with the healthcare sector. We've seen the tech world, which is the bigger picture, and you can go and you see all the other skills that are aligned with the tech world. So you want to be able to narrow down as much as possible and learn that particular skill that is in demand. So that is also one thing that you want to add to your search when you search on Google. Make sure that when you put that, you want to be able to say, hey, what are the skills to learn in 2022 that are in demand? The Google AI picks this information from other platforms, for example, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, LinkedIn, all those. The information they're giving you is being taken from all those other platforms, depending on how many of those jobs are being put on the market every day. So that's why Google will be able to tell you the skills that are in demand based on what people are putting out there on those recruitment platforms, on those job platforms. So you want to be able to do that search. Make sure you add your filters. These filters are going to help you narrow down to something specific. It is not good enough to just say that, hey, I want to learn IT. What about IT do you want to learn? So you want to be able to ask yourself those questions. What are the kind of things that intrigue you? Are you the kind of person who loves to listen to others, right? You're an empathetic listener, right? You are able to listen to people, share whatever they are going through with you, and you use that information that they have shared with you to help guide them back and bring them back to track. That is some kind of coaching. Are you that kind of a person? Then look for the skills that tie to that. Are you the kind of person who likes to teach, who likes to train? Right? You want to ask yourself that question. Are you the kind of person that will probably learn how to do something, then train other people? That is a skill that is in demand today. You want to be able to look for skills that are aligned to that. There are a ton of different things that you can learn, but the first step is for you to make that decision, to ask yourself what you like to do, then look for those skills that align to that thing you love to do. Then in part 3 of this, we are going to be talking about where you can learn these skills. Another example that I don't want to overlook is how I learned DBA. So when I moved into the US and I decided to learn a skill, while I was doing survival jobs, I decided to learn a skill. the way I learned about DBA, yes, there was a buzz at that time around DBA. People were learning it, people were getting jobs, and again, people still have jobs today on that. But what I'm saying is that was the first thing that caught my attention. I went to the college that was close to where I lived at that time, Montgomery College, and because I was an adult, I went to the adult education section, and I asked for a brochure. They gave me a brochure, and I saw all the courses that were offering at that time. These courses range from 3 to 6 months to 1 year, right? Depending on, probably they had like different levels, depending on your level, on where you are. Then they can help you, they can guide you on which of the courses will be right for you. And they were not that expensive. They range from $1,500 to $3,000. And I thought that paying that within that range is not something that I needed you to pay all at once. It's something that I could afford. So I decided to learn the database, the Oracle Database Administration course. I did not, when I finished that course, I got the certification, the SQL and the 11G Oracle. I did not really, when I had an opportunity to do a small internship, like a short internship on DBA, I did not really like it because I did not click with Linux, right? But on the other side, SQL was awesome. Until today, I still use SQL at work. Even at Salesforce, I use what they call SQL, but it's similar. It's a select statement. So what I'm trying to tell you is, or what I am actually telling you is, you want to be able to find that thing you like to save you some time, right? So when I took this brochure, I went through those courses and I picked database administration. I did that course for about 6 months. This is the same thing you can do. Go to any college that is near to where you live. This is for people who probably live in the US. Go to any college and look at what they have, especially if you're the kind of person who likes in-class learning, right? You want to go to class and learn. If you're the kind of person who feels like you're not able to learn on your own, this is one of the ideal ways for you to do it. Go see, most of those colleges offer a lot of skill-based educational courses, skill-based courses. So you want to take a look at that. And again, I don't want to put everything on the internet, because I know that the internet, everything is on there, but there is still that possibility for you to walk in a college and see some of these skills, see some of these courses that offer the skills that are in demand today. So that is one way you can find it. Again, I gave the example of Google. I gave you this example of being able to walk into a college and get a brochure, talk to somebody that is in there, and they'll be able to give you that information. Then you make that decision. So I just want you to be able to, again, I've given 2 examples based on maybe healthcare and tech. Know that that is not all about it. There is a lot more out there that, if after you do the self-evaluation, you realize that what you really like is fashion design, what you really like is maybe some kind of coaching, as I said previously, what you really like, it depends. There's a ton of things. We like different things. Just look for that skill that aligns to that thing that you like doing. Make sure the skill is in demand. And in part 3 of this, we're going to start talking about how you can learn these skills. I hope that you find value in this. I hope that this helps you. And please never hesitate to reach out to me. The reason I do this is because this was my journey. And I feel that I'm in a better place. I'm in a good place to share my experience with you and guide you as you go on the same kind of a journey. So I'll see you in part 3, where we have probably made the decision on what we want to learn. So take this week, decide on what you like, look around, spend some time, invest some time in doing the research. And once you're done with that, you've picked a particular skill that you like, go on YouTube, go check it out there, watch videos and see what it really feels like. Then next week, we will start talking about how you can learn these skills. Stay tuned and be good to each other. Bye-bye.